What's up, good people? Welcome to the Paul Rivera Podcast. Very excited to have not only one of the most successful business people in New York, but a close friend, John Seymour from Sweet Chick. We discussed his pre-Sweet Chick life. We discussed his vision for Sweet Chick. We discussed how the Nas partnership came along. And we discussed hip-hop in New York City. Hope you enjoy the show. Peace. All right, John, thanks for being on. I know you're super busy. Family, travel, you just got back in town from across the water.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get into Sweet Chick in a second, but I actually want to have a funny story to tell you about. I want you to tell our listeners about John Seymour pre-Sweet Chick, right? And before you go there, I've told you the story before.
You're catching me off guard, but I'm with you. I'm with you.
Good. I had I won't say the person's name that Mav and I were meeting with. Very respected guy in New York. And I had come a little late to the meeting, and Mav's like, yo, what's up? And I dapped Mav up and dapped the guy up. And Mav's like, yo, where you coming from? And I said, Maverick Carter, my business partner. And I said, I came from meeting John Seymour. And Mav goes, from Sweet Chick? And I said, yeah. And the guy that we're meeting, he goes, wait, John Seymour from Sweet Chick? And I said, yeah, why? You know him? He goes, that guy was the real deal back in the day. You have a brother?
Yeah, I have a brother.
Yeah, so he goes, him and his brother were the real deal. And I'm like, no, he still is the real deal. He's a good guy, man, stand-up guy. He goes, no. He goes, when you saw him and his brother walking down the street, you crossed the street. I can't imagine. Like, I know you, family man.
I'm a nice guy. I'm a wholesome dude. As I try to tell my crew at work, I'm like, I'm a wholesome guy.
Hey, I saw the fear in that grown-ass man's eyes. Tell me John Seymour pre-Sweet Chick. What's John Seymour growing up?
John Seymour growing up is, a middle-class dude. You know what I'm saying? My parents are immigrants. They're both from Ireland. My father was a bartender, So I guess, I don't know. I know what that means to me is like, at that age and growing up in New York was like tough white boy, Mm-hmm. Irish Americans were really very proud of our heritage, and I grew up in a bar pretty much, so like you're kind of around that type of element, very middle class, but still in New York City, so you're kind of diversified with everybody.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd say like that John Seymour was definitely a wild boy. This John Seymour you're talking to right now, I've been sober for like 16 years. So,
wow.
Drugs and alcohol played a part in my story for real. And I'm not shy about that. I talk about that. It's just normal. It's very regular to me.
Mm-hmm. So you've been clean 16
years.
Wow, good for you. That's huge, man.
So
wow. I don't think I've gone 16, maybe hours. Definitely not days.
I know,
wow, good for you, man.
But like, I'll say the beauty. I think an interesting thing about me. I know all types of people that are sober, not sober, whatever, regular, people. I'm one of those people that is able to kind of just be on different levels as other people get on levels. So like, constantly people hit me up, like people that even know me from like when I got sober, or like people that know, they're like, yo, are you all right? And I'm like, because like they saw like a video of me in somebody's Instagram, like wilding, like throwing dollar bills in the air, like, you know what I'm saying? Like just really wild.
He must be off the wagon.
Yeah, so they're like, I'm like, I probably, depends who I'm hanging out with, I probably super contact high because there's mad L's around me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can just kind of elevate naturally, I think. So I think probably young John that we were talking about, when I introduced those extra substances, I was extra.
Got it.
Got
so it. Now, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah.
What was your last? I'm using air quotes. What was your last job before Sweet Chick was created?
So before Sweet Chick was created, Sweet Chick now is around about 6 years. Wow. In February, I think it'll be 6 years. Before that, I had a burger spot in Williamsburg. Okay. So like before John the businessman, so the burger shop was my first thing. We can talk about that later or not. But before that, I was a bartender.
Okay.
I was working in nightlife. So my last job actually was probably working at Stereo as a bartender, the club Stereo. I was like the service bartender, like the only, you go in there, I'd be like the only dude behind the bar. You know what I'm saying? Bartending.
Got it.
So that was what but I've held many a job in my day.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of
You know
none.
what's interesting? I think one of the many things that made us cool is I think we have similar, which is what I love about New York. You have similar but different backgrounds,
Yeah.
right? And I think about like my upbringing. If I would have told my parents that I had a job working at a nightclub, bringing in money to pay my rent, they'd be like, "Okay, you made it. Like, you're successful. You're providing for yourself." You know. What gave you the thought or the confidence, or what was that moment when you said, you know what, I want to go and create something and be a business owner and have my own thing? Like, did you have examples of that around you? Like, what was that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the first moment where I realized I wanted to be a businessman and own a business, my father was a bartender, right? And, you know, I think one of his big regrets in life was we were almost raised in Ireland. He was going to buy this bar in Ireland and we were going to move back to Ireland. So it's like could have been a very different life. But me and my brother used to lie in school and say my father owned the bar. It was like the neighborhood bar, the Irish bar, you know. So like we used to lie. So that came from somewhere weird, like a weird place where like I felt like there was some kind of thing that like made me want to say that my father owned the bar, and probably within myself I wanted to become a businessman. But like I'd say the first time I really recognized that like I want to be the boss was I was an electrician before I started bartending. Actually, I was an electrician in Queens, and my boss. I mean, I tell the story to like all my old friends and stuff. I remember like my boss had clean ass Timbs and a Jeep. Jeep Cherokee, you know, like a new version, new model or whatever. This is out in Howard Beach. And I remember being like, I want to be him. He had the new Nextel phone, like the dope version, clean Timbs always, and the new car. And he would just show up on job sites and be like in and out. And I was like, I want to do that. So that was like 24 years old. I'd never been to college. I went to John Jay College for a semester at night. And that was when I at first was like, I want to pursue this business. So I kind of just like was like, how do I do that? So the fastest way for me to get my electrical license was to get a college degree.
Got it.
It would take 7 years on the job, but if I went and became an electrical engineer, it would have sped that up by 4 years.
Got it.
I lasted a semester.
Got it.
But whatever.
There's a story, I don't remember where it originated from, but there's a story a guy tells about his dad working at a plant for 25 years. And it says that like on his 25th year, he finally gets to meet like the head of the plant. He calls him in to like give him like a bullshit watch or something. To congratulate him 25 years. And he said his dad got home and what should have been a celebratory moment was a sad moment. He said his dad was really down and he hears his mom ask him, "What's wrong? You should be like in a great mood." And he says, "I met, you know, the CEO of the company today." And she's like, "And what did you see? What did you think?" And he's like, "Nothing. He's not any more special, any smarter, anything than I was. He just believed in himself and took a different course," and how different our lives could have been back then, right? So I always think of that story like when I think of like entrepreneurship and kind of taking that first step. So like even, you know, we're saying our backgrounds, like our dads were like workers and and all that. And that was making an honest living and, you know, and providing. So you make the decision you want to be an owner, right? And I think we live in a generation now more than ever that everyone wants to be a boss, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a difference between saying I want to be a boss and saying, okay, this is what the fuck I'm going to do.
Yeah.
How do you get there? How do you get to I'm doing this?
Yeah, like you said, it's like I think we're in the Instagram era or whatever it is where you just see the final product. And it comes in stages, you know, and then like I'll explain it to people sometimes where I'm like, during these stages, it's almost as if your mind gets unlocked. You know what I'm saying? Like before you had $100, you didn't know what it was like to have $100. Before you've done this, you just don't know. And then once you do it, you got to go do it. It can't necessarily be like taught to you without the experience. A lot of things. And I think I'm just trying to remember like when, when I was like taking that leap to open my first business, which was the burger shop, was like ended up being that. I remember just being like, yo, I just got to do it, you know?
Yeah. Because it's interesting as you're thinking through that, to give you some time to think about it. It's like, I always say like, shit, my producer Eric can tell you, it's like, I asked him one day, I texted him, I'm like, yo, how do podcasts work? And he's like, well, it's this and that. I'm like, I want to do one. He's like, all right. I'm like, I want to do one tomorrow. He's like, all right, let me look up some shit, right? And if I went back and heard the first podcast I did, I'd cringe, right? It was terrible, but it's like, I think we live in an era where people spend so much time on a business plan and so much time on like, well, if I do this, what's this mean this, and how do I get a store, and if I get the store, what's this, and employees, and it's like,
you
no,
gotta
just
make
start.
mistakes.
Like, just start.
Yeah,
just start, and you'll figure that. You just alluded to. You'll figure that shit out as you go along.
I think you have to. You're gonna make mistakes. What you got to be aware of is not repeating those mistakes and learning from those mistakes, you know, and then next time having a little bit more vision to see past and try to avoid future mistakes. If you do have somebody, a mentor or something like that, obviously you can always bounce things off. I never had that, and I'm still looking for one. PR, if you're accepting.
I'm learning from you.
If you're accepting applications.
I think that's one of the dope things, and I learned this honestly from Mav. It's like you can have mentors that are older than you, younger than you, the same age, you know, in your field, in different fields, and you can learn from people's mistakes just as much from their successes, right?
Yeah.
So I may not be in the restaurant business, but I may be like, John, when you did this, man, what were you thinking? Like, what was the toughest thing when you did this? And you're like, oh, that's easy, you know, and we can all learn from each other. And I think the goal is that as you've built a business, or businesses, or I've built businesses, it should be easier for the people within our network because they're learning from our mistakes, right? So I shouldn't fall through the same potholes you fell through because you're like, Pete, trust me. You make a left turn on that, there's a pothole there in the corner.
For sure, having good people in your corner that can kind of advise you on that thing. But like also with the mentorship or learning from friends, it's like it's not like a go get a mentor, you're gonna make it. Like you got to show up and do this. You know, you have to use your mind. You have to be creative. You have to solve problems. You know, I'm just literally looking at a brick wall over here, and I'm thinking of things that like tons of problems that I've had to overcome just with the Sweet Chick business over the past 6 years. And like Kyle, who works with me in the office, you know, Kyle, he'll say sometimes like about my style, it's like I might try to look over the brick wall to the side, to the left. I might try to dig the hole, but eventually I'm just breaking the fucking wall. Like I'm just gonna. You have to have a certain level of determination, and people are gonna say no, and things aren't gonna work out, and you're gonna try to find a million ways around a problem. Sometimes you just gotta go head first, right through the problem, and believe that, you know, either you're gonna get on the other side or you're gonna die trying. You know what I'm saying? Basically,
no, I love it. You know, you just mentioned problems, right? As with any business or even life, there's always gonna be problems. Again, I hate to sound like the old guy that I am, but and shit on like the Instagram generation, whatnot. But it's like, I think everyone sees the Instagram post,
of course,
right? So they see you in front of Sweet Chick, it's like, man, he's doing. I want to be him, right?
Perfect life.
What if you can share? What's been maybe one of or the biggest hurdle you've gone through, like in creating or just even sustaining Sweet Chick?
I mean, there's definitely levels, right? So like at every level, the problems become different. You know, I'd say. Not early, but like I did a raise to open the last 3 stores, right? So like we went from like a business that had 2 restaurants, you know, that were kind of thriving, and I was doing a raise. I mean, even that in itself, I've never done that in my life. You know, I called a homie whose mom did the books for somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you figure it out. Yeah,
I figured it out. I did a lot of Googling, and I'd say like there was just this one problem because I know it was something that probably took a year off my life at some stage. But while I was raising that capital, and I had some, you know, notable people that were interested in investing, behind the scenes, I had a problem with a landlord, right? So this is something that, you know, people they see me posing in London, you know, with what I think is a dope fit. They don't realize like the things that I have had to deal with, right? Or like what I'm going through even at that moment. So. What ended up happening was like our flagship location, the first location in Williamsburg, the landlord there found a loophole in the lease. You know, technically, you know, he wanted more money basically. So he found a loophole, so we were going to court. And I had these lawyers, and they were like, you know, 50-50. It's a 50-50 chance that he can essentially evict you. It's commercial leases. This is a whole other thing. It's not like, you know, rent control apartments and stuff like that. It's like, yo, you pay and that's it. Right. But we were great tenants. We never really had any issues. This is a landlord who, out of the blue, you know, just kind of was like, I'm going to fuck you today. And it was in the middle while I was trying to raise this money and trying to take the business to the next level. Saw the guy on the street. He didn't even want to talk about it. And I was like, let's just talk. Like, what is it? Is it more money that you want? Because let's have that conversation.
He's lucky he didn't see young John Seymour in the streets.
He almost saw young John Seymour. Let me tell you.
I'm sure.
This is a moment where I was like.
Your livelihood. I get it.
You know, this is in the year 2000 something. And this is, I mean, I'm 100% serious with you. Like, the conversations that I've had with people during that time was like, I wish this was the 90s, but actually I wish it was the 50s, because if it was the 50s, he'd be fucking dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would just like, I'm like, cause you're trying to take food out of my kid's mouth.
Literally, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At this moment, that's how I'm taking it personally. So anyway, long story short, we got very close to the date. I was about to go do a deposition, ran into the guy's son on the street. My wife was like, I'm gonna go talk to the son. It was like the last ditch effort. Like, I'm literally going to court tomorrow. My wife was like, why would you even talk to him? Like, he's a scum fuck or whatever, right? And I said, what am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do? I said, anything I do with violence or anything I do like with coming from anger, it can't help me here. Yep. It just can't help me. So I walked up to the kid and I was just super cool. And I was just like, yo, man, your pops is kind of wild. It is what it is. We're supposed to go to court tomorrow. And a little crack opened, because I was kind of being friendly. A little crack opened, and he was like, you ever heard of a triple net lease? And I was like, nope. And he goes, it could be something my father would be interested in. I said, well, let's talk more. Boom, boom, boom. He's called his father the next night. His father calls off the dogs. We don't go to court the next day, and we continue the conversation. And it's as crazy as that, as it was like walking up and literally saying to my wife, being like, if it was the 50s, I'd probably kill everybody in the whole block. But right now it's not. And I'm like, I can't, there's nothing I can do other than be cool and nice and just be like, it is what it is. This is life. This is business. And that little crack opened up for me, and I saw that, and I went for it. And next thing I know, I'm re-signing a new lease. The rent was a lot higher. It made the deal work. I opened up 3 more restaurants since then. I got a whole bunch of other shit going on with the business as well, and I'm here. It would have killed the deal. Wow. It would have killed the deal.
It's always super interesting to me, right? Because as I hear you say that, people think like, wow, okay, it's a problem you got to deal with. But what they don't realize is you still have to run a business. You still have to be a family man. While you're dealing with this shit, right? It's like it's one of those things that people don't get. I've always respected a lot of things, you personally and as a businessman, but I've always respected how you've rolled with the punches. I remember there was an issue in the Lower East Side one, right?
Yeah,
where it's like
that was a major
gas or something, right? And it was like
leak,
where most people would just bitch and moan, I've been done wrong, whatever, and you were like, no, okay, how can we flip this and it makes sense for us? I think it was like tacos, right? It was like tacos for a while, right?
Sweet Chica tacos.
Sweet Chica tacos, right? So like,
go
ahead.
So the gas leak happened. This was a nightmare. This is another nightmare. This is a more recent nightmare. Gas leak happened. Long story short, we ended up having to shut the restaurant for 4 months. We didn't think it would have been even that long. If shout out to my brother Tim that I grew up with, worked for Con Edison, and he definitely pulled some strings for me.
Wow,
but the 4 months can close a restaurant. You
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? The staffing, keeping staff on. So there's a whole number of things. People think, oh, so you just don't have to pay rent. It's like, no.
How it works, yeah.
My payroll is fucking is humongous for a restaurant, for one of our restaurants. And I'm not trying to throw my people out on the street either, because those are my most important assets. So what we did was we flipped it. I was like, shit, we got no gas. We can put together kind of a makeshift electric kitchen, and we can do let's come up with a taco menu. And literally overnight, we came up with a bomb fucking taco menu. Had a party, sent out flyers. I had these. The funniest thing to me, which probably no one even saw, was I had these like Mexican wrestlers on the thing. But I tattooed I put on just like in a little app. The Department of Buildings, DOB, because they were also fucking with me, because he was getting like super fly stuff good. So I was like, I was just kind of a little bit F you to them, but
but Joe, where's that come from? Where's that spirit of like, all right, you give me lemons, I'm gonna go roll and I'm gonna figure this shit out. I have no other choice.
I mean, I'll tell you what, that is so key in business in general. I'm sure you've had to do the same thing. Where does that come from? I think a lot of that probably just comes from like, inner upbringing, like kind of that. To me, the immigrant like that, the child of an immigrant, New York City hustle mentality, really kind of can give someone that. But I think it might also just be instilled in somebody. I've been through a lot of adversity in my life. You know what I'm saying? So like, I know that you can get through things and you can see things on the other side. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I also think it's a little bit fun. You know what I'm saying? Like finding a creative solution to something whack is a challenge, and I'm up for the challenge. You know, like I don't know what it's hard to really pinpoint like where that really comes from, but you got to have it if you really want to succeed.
Yeah, I look at it like as a leader, you know, of running any business, our job is to solve problems.
Yeah, we're problem solvers.
Right? It's like, so if you even start from the mindset of there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not like, oh my God, a problem. There's going to be problems. And my job and your job as a leader is how do we get hurdles, how do we get roadblocks out of the people that work for us and with us and are the most important things we have in our business? How do we make sure we're setting them up for success?
Yes.
So that's like that. If you don't have that skill as a leader, you're finished.
Yes.
You know. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a word that kind of makes me nauseous at this point. How overused the word is, but the word culture.
Yes.
Right. And I think
I knew it was going to be that word or like influencer.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, both of them.
Culture.
I'm about to throw up on camera right now.
Yeah.
Like, you've built a business off of, you know, you're not just selling food in you know, your establishment. You've built a business off everything from the offering, the staff, the physical space of the stores, the branding. It's culture. It's through and through, right? To a point where if I saw that somewhere else, I'd be like, oh, they're knocking off Sweet Chick, right? Why has that been important to you, and how important has it been to your success at Sweet Chick?
I mean, I think first and foremost, I think it's like the hospitality aspect that I kind of derived from my father. Like, he was a real dude in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was like, yo, Marty, you know, like he was just that dude. But it's it's the most important part of like the brand itself and the brand identity. I think, you know, it's weird to say sometimes, but I'm like, I think it really derives from me just being like, you know, I like to hang out on the street. It's one of my favorite things to do, and hanging out in front of the Bedford store in the beginning and just being cool, man, with people, and like knowing that like people's money is, you know, like, you know, somebody coming in to spend money in the restaurant is a big deal, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. And if I'm going to put my name on this place and be a part of this place, and I'm trying to create this place, I want it to be the dopest fucking place possible. So, you know, there's so many different avenues that come off of just even that essential feeling. And it's like, what are like, you know, the 5 pillars of hip hop, right? What are the 5 pillars or 6 pillars or 10 pillars of the restaurant industry? And it's like, up at the top is food, hospitality, vibe. It goes down to lighting. You know what I'm saying? There's so many little different aspects, and it's like, how can we be amazing at each one of those, you know, and consistent? And it's just kind of like a drive to be great. You know, if we're going to do it, we should be great, you know? And that's just like what we are constantly trying to do. Like, I don't think that Sweet Chick as a brand is ever like, okay, cool, we're done. Like, oh, we got the brand, cool, we're done. It's like, if we have to flip the script tomorrow because I think that this is going to be dope for us, then we flip it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if tomorrow we think like, you know, we have our brand identity, but it's like, if we think that like, yo, let's do this, it's going to be fun. Like, we have a sign on our wall. It's like, just do dope shit. So whatever we think is dope, let's fucking do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's as simple as that, but then as complicated as making sure that in every section of the business, in every corner of the business, we can continue to kind of drive that and be that. And it's attracting great people.
Yeah, I think it's dope. It's like, I can't think of any other establishment, restaurant that has the success you guys have, that has multiple locations, which we'll get into in a second, but that, you know, the face of the brand, like, you're not hard to find.
Yeah,
you know, you better not make enemies, because if you have them, it'd be very easy to get to you. Right?
Yes.
But I feel like the brand literally is an extension of you, right? It feels, everything you guys do, from the merch to, you know, the tone in which you guys speak feels very you and your partners. I think it's like super dope. Speaking of dope, speaking of authentic, Esco, the Godson, NAS, Nas.
Yeah.
How's that happen? How's Nas become, which for me, it's funny, right? Because we've kind of had this conversation. I think, like, I know what a fan of hip hop you are. I know what a fan of New York you are, right? So it doesn't get any more hip hop, any more New York than Nas. How does that happen where he becomes a partner? You
know what's crazy? Because you said the word fan, and it's kind of bugged out. I've been thinking about this lately. Like, I don't necessarily consider myself like a fan, right? A fan of hip hop, or even a fan of New York. I'm from New York, and for me, I am like to me, it's like you can debate me all day, you know, and I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm part of that. Like I had a boombox, and whatever was the reason why I liked that music is because that's what was playing in the boombox that I was carrying around while I was smoking a blunt, you know, in the street, and that kid was crossing the street. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not so much as I'm a fan, it's just like that's normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's normal.
No, totally get it.
And the craziest thing that, you know, Esco is part of Sweet Chick, and to use that word authentic, it really is crazy. I can constantly think I'm living my life as a movie or something, because Nas is my favorite rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, as he was also a lot of people's favorite rappers. But like, to honestly be able to say that and say like, I love Biggie, and Biggie has inspired a lot of like what Sweet Chick's hospitality side is about, which we can touch on. But Biggie wasn't my favorite rapper. Nas is my favorite rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't think a lot of people can even say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Biggie, you know, passed, and it's like he's such an iconic figure to New York. But it's like, you know, I grew I used to play baseball on the 59th Street Bridge too. You know what I'm saying? One of my best friends is from Queensbridge. We used to walk over the bridge, and we used to light an L by the bridge. So like, it's just so normal. So it's crazy that Nas is my partner at Sweet Chick, and also the homie. You know,
how's that even happen? Do you get a phone call?
So
how's that happen?
So I early Sweet Chick, we had just opened the Lower East Side, so that was our second restaurant.
Shout out to LES.
Shout out to LES. So I got an email, and it was from Peter, who runs Mass Appeal, Peter Bittenbender, and I saw the signature Mass Appeal, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm constantly looking for things. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, that's the part of the drive that makes the business great, or you good at what you do as a business owner. I saw Mass Appeal, and I was like, I fuck with Mass Appeal. I knew the magazines. You know, I used to write graffiti. All my friends wrote graffiti, so Mass Appeal was important to us. And so he was asking me to do a party for like 25 people for his like anniversary. And we don't take reservations. We weren't taking reservations, and we never really did parties of 25 people. But I was like, yo, I see that, you know, you're from Mass Appeal. I said, well, fuck with Mass Appeal. You know, I'll make it happen. So anyway, did that. Happened to be in the restaurant that night. It's funny, actually, like when I really think back to it, I had an interview in the city with some like publication or something about the restaurant. And I had to stay in the Lower East Side to meet with these people and kind of have dinner with these people. And I was like, oh, that dude from Mass Appeal is going to be there. I was like, I just want to try to catch that on my way home, because I live in Brooklyn. So I stopped in. Turns out we had a mutual friend. There was a girl there that worked with him, that knew somebody that I grew up with or something like that. And we started talking, and Peter was like, yo, you know, Sweet Chick is dope, man. I've been to the one on the Lower East Side. He's like, you thinking about doing more of these? And I was like, I said, you know, we just opened the Lower East Side. I'm kind of tapped out, you know, but yes, I have a plan, and I'm, you know, working on it. And he was like, oh, it's funny, because he was like, man, getting money's no problem. And I was like, oh shit, word? I said, you got richer friends than me. So anyway, we just kind of chopped it up that night. I already had his info. It was like, let's just say this was a Saturday night. And I was like, cool, I'll hit you up. So I think I hit him up on Sunday, you know, and then I was in Massville office on Monday, and we're sitting at a table just like this, and he was like, yeah, man, I think, you know, Sweet Chick brand is really dope. You guys are doing something different. And I didn't even put it together that Nas was part of Mass Appeal, to be honest with you, at the time. And he goes, I think this would be something that Nas would be interested. And I acted totally normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't, you know, I was just like, word, cool. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, that's insane.
I'm sure it's
Nas. That's insane. And we had kind of had some other artists that, you know, I'll leave unnamed, that had like kind of like floated some interest to us. Not even think that was even a reality, but like, we had talked about it, you know what I'm saying? Like, been like, yo, what if this dude, that would be crazy, or what if that dude, that would be crazy. So anyway, I left the office that day, and I was bugging, hit my homie or whatever. I was like, yo, this dude was like, yo, maybe Nas would be interested or whatever. So anyway, I got a text later that night, and he was like, yo, his friends have been there, and they love it. He wants to meet you. So I was like, word, cool. So he goes, yo, hop on a plane, come down to South by Southwest. He's going to be there. So go down to South by Southwest, meet him backstage. It's kind of hectic. I'd become friends with Joey Badass already. He was kind of coming to the restaurant a lot, so he was like kind of like a little bro. And Joey was about to perform, and I saw Joey outside. We were Nas hadn't gotten there yet to the green room, so I'm telling Joey, I goes, yo, I'm fucking meeting Nas, man. You know, this is like, you know, Joey was blowing, but he wasn't where he is now. And he's like, oh shit, that's crazy. He's like, for the restaurant? I was like, yeah. Anyway, go backstage, really just like get introduced to him and kind of give him the little pitch. You know what I'm saying? And I think what happened was like I think Nas kind of recognized that I was a New York guy. You know what I'm saying? And we left it at that. Next thing I know, he was up in New York maybe like a week or two later. Met me for dinner. We went to Sweet Chicken in Williamsburg. Sat there, just kind of chopped it up the whole dinner. Run the Jewels was doing a performance. This is a long story, right?
No, you're good. It's the good stuff. It's the good stuff.
It's a crazy story. It's a crazy story.
Go ahead, please.
So Run the Jewels is performing on the water down by Williamsburg, and the finals were on actually. And it was LeBron, Steph finals, the
Golden State Cavs, yeah.
And we were talking about it, and I had lived around the corner at the time from the restaurant, so I said, yeah, man, you know, I said, if you want to go watch the game after, whatever, I live around the corner, you know, no big deal or whatever. So anyway, he goes, yeah, I got to do this thing down the water if you want to roll down there. So we go down. He gets on stage with Run the Jewels on Kent Avenue there by the water, does Made You Look, gets off, and he's like, let's go watch the game. So I was like, oh, shit, word. I said, you got trees? He's like, nah, that's all I got you. And then I told Kyle's with me. I said, yo, Kyle, grab a bottle of Hennessy from the restaurant, meet me in my crib. So then I called my wife and was like, I was like, Nas is going to come upstairs to watch the game. You know, she's in her pajamas. The kids are asleep. The kids are asleep, you know, in my 2-bedroom apartment. And, you know, so we come up with Nas and, you know, we're chilling watching the game. During the game, a funny little thing, his Hennessy commercial comes on where he's like on the train. I remember. So it's like during the finals. And it's kind of silent, you know, like nobody's talking. And we're just like, oh, shit. And then he looked at me and he's drinking a Hennessy. And it's a Hennessy commercial. And there's like some smoke in the air. And we all started laughing. You know, it's just like, yo, this is crazy. So that was kind of how the friendship kind of started as well. I think he really believed in what we did with the business, and you know, he's always kind of talking about it. You know, like we've had conversations where it's like he'll say it's like, yo, Sweet Chicken was dope before I got there. What they were doing was dope before they got there. He's like, I'm just like a battery in its back, you know. And he's like, we kind of just vibe very similar. I mean, we've hung out, right? We've hung out all together.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, it's like you guys aren't just like you guys are friends. Like, you guys hang out outside of Sweet Chicken. You know, I think there's a respect there, and I think, you know, Nas is as New York as they get. You know, and you're in that same conversation.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that dude is a cool dude, man. You know what I'm saying?
He's not pressed for anything, right? He's just a little laid back dude.
Yeah. I mean, and that's you know why it's so crazy. The whole thing of it, where I say like, you know, he was my favorite rapper growing up, and you know, what our brand is. Like, we don't really try to force things, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not trying to be really kitschy and be like, you know, let's, you know, I have people tell me things all the time. They're like, yo, you should put up, like, photos of, like, all the artists from the 90s. And I'm like, nah, I'm good, man.
Maybe not.
Like, I'll put up, like, some, like, you know, vegetables on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, or a picture of a chicken or something. But, like, it's just, like, we're not trying to force anything. We're trying to just be real and be us. And, you know, Nas is the epitome of that, man. He's like one of the coolest dudes on the planet. Like, you know, so he don't force nothing. It's just.
Speaking of not forcing anything, you guys, I don't know of any other restaurant doing it at all, and definitely not at the level you're doing it at. Collaborations with brands. Yeah. Right? That the average person will look and be like, not that it doesn't make sense, it'll be like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like a sneaker? Like, how'd that come about?
So I'm trying to think of like to really what the first thing we did, but like that was just something that, you know, we've like, again, it goes back to just do dope shit. So when an opportunity presents itself, you take it. So I think one of the first ones we did that was like, you know, kind of on a bigger scale was the Fila collab. That was our first sneaker that we did. And that just happened from like, you know, New York shit. I was at Agenda and I was just walking around and I ran into Juice, you know, Juice.
Yep.
Shout out Juice. And he introduced me to Louis Cologne from Fila.
Yep.
And Louis was like, I just said to him, I said, let's do a shoe. And he was like, word, let's see, let's talk. And that kind of bubbled from there. So that was the Fila thing. And like, you know, it wasn't enough to just be like, hey, let's put our shoe, let's do it differently. So I did the drop at Stadium Goods when Stadium Goods had just opened. Shout out to them because they just sold for fucking $250 million. Awesome. That was right.
They gave all of us hope.
They need to give me a cut because we were making it hot like the first week with that party.
They gave all of us hope with that number.
Yeah. So I had Rakim come. Rakim performed. That was just like really fun and just like energy. Like and those shoes sold out in like 45 minutes. It was great. We've done the Vans most recently.
But again, it all feels authentic to you guys. It doesn't feel like you're trying to move merch and you're trying to make money.
No, I mean, I'll tell you, my like, and this could be bad business, but like my thing is like when I talk to somebody, like I was just talking to, working on a couple other projects. Mm-hmm. To me, I'm like, I might ask a brand, I'll be like, you guys got budget? Like, I'm not trying to make money on it. Mm-hmm. My bread and butter is selling chicken and waffles and cocktails and the restaurant brand itself. The value of the brand even. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm not trying to make money on sneakers. That's not what I do. I wanted to I'd rather whatever money we make, let's put it into the event. Let's do more stuff. Let's just have fun with it, So that's where it is for me. When I talk to a brand, that's how I am. I'm like, this is not something for me to make money.
There's two things, like two quotes I love. They asked Jay and Nas separately, what was the big secret to their success? And Jay said, the genius in what we did was we didn't quit. I wish I had a sexier answer for you. We just didn't quit. We just kept doing it. And when they closed doors, we tried to how do we survive another day? And Bron always says something you just said. He's like, you know what? Like, no matter the opportunities, the money, the whatever, it's like, I keep the main thing the main thing. Right? Yeah.
I mean, the bread and butter was the bread and butter.
Right, it's that. And if you handle that, and if it gets most of your attention, dedication, energy, resources, all that, all the other shit comes with it, right?
So like somebody like a Bron, I can imagine, right? It's like if he's going to say, I keep the bread and butter where it's supposed to be, that means that like, okay, I got an opportunity and it like take Space Jam. Crazy opportunity, right? I'm sure he's going to put 110% into that, but he's going to make sure he gets his workout in.
Yeah, they built the court for him on set.
But that's what I'm saying, and that's what that's about. And like on a way more microscopic scale, I'll have opportunities sometimes presented to me, and as you start to grow, it's also you need to know what to say no to, whether it's a TV thing or something else, and like. There's times where I'm like, I got to focus on my bread and butter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got to build this brand.
The minute that slips up, the opportunities wash up with
Exactly. And also like, keep the focus, man. It's like, so to me to show up to the gym is to go to the office, you know what I'm saying? And really like, get that grind on, obviously there's time for vacations and family stuff, but like, anything that's really going to take my focus away, like a TV show, traveling the country, it could be great for the brand, right? Yep. That could be great for the brand. It's a big look. It's a national thing. I mean, I'll be cooking on the Today Show this weekend anyway, so that's national enough. On Saturday. But I'm saying like, like something like that is demanding and it takes a lot of hours and you have to weigh out, is that really worth it at this time? Yep. Because I got something special here and I have a plan and I need to make sure that I execute that plan. Yep. So, obviously on a way more smaller scale.
No, but it's all relative. LeBron. It's all the thinking is the same, right? The thinking is the same.
Yeah.
So thinking of, you mentioned a plan and staying focused to what that plan is. How many Sweet Chicks are there today?
There's 5 Sweet Chicks, and then we have Lil Sweet Chick at Citi Field. Yep. And we have some projects in the works.
So, does it bug you out to say there's 5 Sweet Chicks?
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Right? It's like
it's crazy. I mean, that was crazy. Every day I look at everything, and it's just crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I'm still a construction worker, really. I mean, I bartend and all that, but I was an electrician. Like to me, like my boys I grew up with, most of them they're steam fitters, or my brother's a doorman in apartment buildings. I was a doorman when I was 15.
Which, by the way, it's a great profession.
Job.
If you get that job, you're like, we did it. Like
great job,
right?
job. Yeah, I mean, you can't knock anything. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, that's actual work at times. Like, I deal with a lot of stress and like I have to pivot and move in stressful situations. But like, I'll go tell one of my boys that I grew up with, and they're like, "Word, we'll play a fucking violin for you tonight, bro." Yeah. Like, as if my problems are they ain't shit really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When
it's great perspective.
Like
to have,
they're like iron workers. My boy, like I see them post a picture on Facebook and shit. Like they're not even on Instagram, but like, like they're like on like the 100th floor of a building. Yeah, no, you know what I'm saying? With a harness.
Real shit. Like,
that's work.
Yeah,
that's work, man. Yeah. So like I almost sometimes don't even feel like I'm doing work because my hands don't feel crazy. And how did
opening, you know, it's a Little Chick?
Little Sweet Chick, yeah.
Little Sweet Chick in Queens.
Stadium.
Like, how'd that feel for you? Like, in the stadium, in Queens, like,
I mean,
is that another moment for you in your
that's
career?
a different moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the 5 restaurants and opening in LA was also like just like a holy shit, man. We're opening in LA. Like every time it's always like, wow. But the stadium is just a different level. You know, my father was a huge baseball fan. He was a Red Sox fan. And a bartender in New York as a Red Sox fan was a rough day at work.
Yeah. I'm sure.
So, just like, but it just a baseball fan in general. So like to me, it was so like kind of sentimental too, like value. Like when I go to the field, I'm like, it's just like, wow, man. Like I grew up in this city, and like I have a thing at the stadium. You know, like I take my kids to the game, and you know, like it's just that's a surreal thing that like, you know, I could have 20 restaurants, you know, but having the one in the stadium is just a different look. You know, New York and baseball, I mean, baseball in America, but like it's a special thing, you know, the Mets, Yankees and stuff like that. So it's unbelievable and it's crazy.
I can imagine the feeling.
Yeah.
I have a friend, it's like probably like 10 years ago, I have a friend that's in the restaurant business, and I had asked him about like opening up a restaurant. He was like, I'll give you whatever advice you need, but the only advice you need is don't.
I was told the same thing.
Right?
No, straight up. That's what I was told the thing. Don't do it.
So the restaurant business is notoriously one of the, if not the toughest business.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Fair to say?
It is extremely difficult.
How has Sweet Chick not only survived, but thrived? What's been the secret sauce to Sweet Chick that you can share? Besides the food itself, obviously the food's got to be great, right?
Of course. Well, I would say that early, I didn't really care about the numbers, right? Okay. Like I didn't, you know, obviously I was trying to keep food costs at the right levels. And, you know, I know, and all this stuff was self-taught, you know what I'm saying? It was Google, you know what I'm saying? Google's my best friend. Like there should be a quote in my office, as I had said this one time, and Kyle always reminds me of it, or I say like, I'm the motherfucker that will Google the fuck out of Google. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, that was like college for me really. But, I think for me and the Sweet Chick brand, I think the first and foremost was the experience, right? So like we made sure that we were conscious to make sure that like the experience was like the focus, right? The experience was the bread and butter at that time. And we weren't necessarily focusing on everything else, but we were really trying to build this brand and make it just super dope. And then at some point it was like, okay, cool. Now we need to like go back into the guts of the business and make sure it's operating correctly. Because you could have a great restaurant and your food cost is 45% and it's out the window, you know? And when that gas leak happened in the Lower East Side, it's funny because, you know, I was doing my best to keep my staff employed. So we were moving them around. We did the taco spot, but it was still like, it was a challenge, you know? And sure. One of the girls that work in the front of the house was like, oh man, you know, I only got 3 shifts this week. And I was like, yo, we're trying to make it happen. And then I've broke it down for people a few times, and I'll keep it short. But I was like, I said, you know, when somebody comes into the restaurant business and spends $100, I said, what do you think? Not I make, you know what I'm saying? I said, what do you think that all the owners, because now we have investors. I said, what do you think like the restaurant makes? And she was like, $70. And I was like, all right, let me just break it down for you real quick. I said, out of that 100, maybe, you know, $30 to $33 goes to pay you guys, the kitchen staff, everybody that works here. Then it's like, now we're a brand, so we have a corporate overhead, and let's just say $8 is paying all the corporate salaries, like, you know, those guys over there. I said, you know, if we're doing really great with food costs and not a lot of wastage, maybe like $26 goes to food costs, $4 goes to garbage. You know, this, that.
Goes,
you know,
quickly.
Exactly.
100 goes quickly.
Exactly. So I was like, you know, if I'm one of the best in the world at what I do, I said, you know, the brand makes, you know, $20, $22.
Was her mind blown? Like,
she was just like, oh, wow. So it's like, it's tough. And it's like with one of those things goes spikes in a month, you know, your payroll goes a little too high, or you know, in January there was a payroll raise, you know, I mean, a pay raise, which I'm all for. I'm down. I'm like, yo, people, I want my people to make as much money as possible, which is why sometimes we'll schedule less, you know, servers than other restaurants will. And I actually had that same server that I'm talking about. She actually left, and she was just sitting at the bar before I came here, and she was just like, She's pursuing something else, but she was like, and that she just picked up another like a part-time shift at another restaurant, a decent restaurant, and she was like, she literally just said to me, she goes, "It's so hard to work anywhere else once you've worked at Sweet Chick."
You get it, right?
And I was like, that's amazing for me to hear, because it means that we create an environment that's dope. It's not always just about the money, but we create a dope environment. But yeah, I mean, the restaurant business is extremely difficult, man. And you know, there's always problems that are gonna come up and things that cost money, and then an air conditioner breaks and this breaks. It's like, you know, it's tough, you know. But I found something I love to do. I didn't know I was gonna love restaurants, man. I just wanted to build something.
That's half the battle. Before I get you out of here, we have a lot of like young entrepreneur types that watch or listen to the show. I always like to leave them with a nugget, right? From one of our guests. So for that person, that young guy or girl that's thinking about starting their own business, photography, restaurant, bar, like whatever it is, what advice would you give? What's a good piece of advice you could give them? Or maybe it's a watch out. Hey, watch out for this. Or
I mean, I think, for me, I mean, just very top line, you better love what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And like, even with me, like, I didn't necessarily say, like, I can't necessarily say, oh, I love the restaurant business, but I love building something, and I love, the intricacies of what Sweet Chick does, right? Like, that's why all that stuff kind of relates. But, if you want to be a photographer, start this business with that, it's like, take a look in the mirror and be like, do I really love this? You know what I'm saying? And even for like my kids, is like kind of the advice that I will give them, I think, when they get older. It's like, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? As they say. But if you love what you do, it's possible that, you'll never work a day in your life, but you could potentially be broke. You may not succeed at it. It's not easy to succeed.
Yeah, love isn't enough.
Love isn't just enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta, like, there's some luck, there's some, there's some networking, there's a lot of stuff that comes together, and a lot of hustle. But if you love what you do, the odds of you succeeding in what you do is, multiplied by 10, 20, 100, whatever you can even think of. It's like, if you show up every day and you put the passion into it, and you're like, and by all means necessary, you're gonna get it done, that's achievable. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's nothing pays off like hard work, So I didn't necessarily have that advice growing up. I somehow along the way figured that out. But that's something that I think, it's maybe obvious to me now, but I constantly meet young people that it's not that obvious, because they're looking at the final product all the time. And they don't realize that, it's not like us tooting, like praising ourselves, saying like, yo, it takes hard work to get there. But be prepared for that. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared for that. And you should love what you're going to do, because, you can also get rich by working a desk job that you hate. I mean, potentially, I don't know.
I know a lot of rich people that are miserable.
Absolutely. I mean, you can get rich that way as well. But definitely being, invested and excited. I just read something recently about how, like, the key, like the equivalent of happiness is actually excitement. And I think if you constantly find things that excite your brain outside of like jumping off, skyscrapers with parachutes or whatever, like adrenaline stuff, that's different, but like find things that excite your mind. You know what I'm saying? If you can excite your mind, you're going to improve, and you're going to keep going, and you're going to keep being able to just be better every day and kind of challenge yourself and get to that next level. So like excitement is something new even for me at this level, where I was like, oh shit, I never really looked at it like that. I was like, let me find some things that excite me, and it's like, go try to attack those, and you'll break. You'll find new barriers as you get through, and you'll grow. Love it.
So, last thing before you get out of here, for those people that have been under a rock or eating terrible food, give me Sweet Chick locations real quick, so they could go check out Sweet Chick.
So the original locations in Williamsburg on Bedford Ave and North 8th, Ludlow Street between Houston and Stanton. It's 178 Ludlow. We're up the block from the Barclays on Flatbush and Carlton. Long Island City, Queens, on Vernon Boulevard. Los Angeles, we're on Fairfax, like right across the street from Supreme, if you're familiar with them.
Little brand, you heard of them?
Little clothing brand. City Fields, you can come check us and get some Little Sweet Chick. The sandwiches are bomb. We're actually doing Little Sweet Chick all summer at Celebrate Brooklyn in Prospect Heights in the park, but that band shell or whatever, a bunch of shows out there. So that's pretty dope. Coming to a country near you.
Excited.
Yeah,
we'll have to have you back on the show again when that happens.
Yeah, we got some announcements coming up.
Yes. I'd be a terrible friend if I didn't save you from yourself and say, plug the missus.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, listen, I'm living. My wife is from Trinidad. She cooks for me all the time at home. Yes. But guess what? She can cook for you, too, at Pearl's Caribbean in Williamsburg on North A Street. Super bomb
there
food.
It is.
Yeah.
There it is. John.
Yes.
Thanks for having you, man. I know you're busy.
Always.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes.
John Seymour. Sweet chick. Peace.
Peace.